The moment two security officers ripped open his suitcase in the middle of Terminal C, scattering confidential papers across the polished airport floor, a wave of laughter followed. Probably stolen, one of them said loud enough for the whole gate area to hear. No apology, no shame, just a black teenager in a hoodie, surrounded by whispers, judged not by the contents of his luggage, but by the color of his skin. They didn't check his credentials, didn't ask his name. They didn't know they were humiliating the reason their flight was even about to take off. Buried beneath their smirks was a $120 million truth they were seconds from learning. The boy they dismissed owned the very airline they worked for. But he didn't fight back, not yet. Jaden Ellis simply stood still, watching, recording, silent, as judgment rained down around him. Because sometimes, the most powerful seat on a plane isn't first class. It's the one no one sees coming. The airport thrummed with the usual tension. The rolling of suitcases, distant Pennsylvania announcements, the roar of jets rumbling down runways like captured storms. In the middle of it all, Jaden stood still, dressed simply in a black hoodie, clean jeans, and white sneakers that hadn't yet tasted dirt. His right hand held a sleek carry-on. In his left, a slim leather envelope. Almost unnoticed, behind the counter, Brad Mason, a stocky, red-faced baggage handler with a permanent scowl, eyed him with disdain. Brad's cap was pulled low over his forehead, his arms crossed like a bouncer at a cheap nightclub. "Hey, kid," he barked, jerking his thumb toward the economy line. "First class and priority only over here." Jaden's voice was quiet, level. "I am priority." Brad laughed, a barking, mean sound. "Yeah, and I'm piloting the plane." He didn't even bother to check the tag attached to Jaden's suitcase. Instead, with a theatrical grunt, he snatched the carry-on and slammed it onto the belt. The hard thunk echoed off the terminal walls. Across the counter, Kenny Morales, a younger handler barely in his 20s, winced. "Yo, man," Kenny said, frowning. "That bag looked expensive." Brad shrugged, his mouth twisting into a smirk. "It's probably fake. These kids all think they're ballers now. Flashy gear don't mean jack." Jaden said nothing. He just watched his bag disappear behind the flaps of the conveyor. Then he nodded once, slow and deliberate, and turned away. "Ever think you're judging too fast?" Kenny asked under his breath. Brad gave a scoff. "He's lucky I didn't toss him with it." As Jaden made his way toward the VIP lounge, the escalator camera caught a glimpse of him. A calm figure moving through chaos, almost invisible. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A message from his assistant, contract signed. Ownership changes at midnight. He typed back with one hand, barely glancing down. Let them finish their show. We're recording everything. Back at the baggage drop, Brad went on tossing bags, muttering curses under his breath. Fast track. That's what they call it now. Back in my day, you earned it. Rust had eaten his soul a long time ago, and he wore it like a badge. Inside the lounge, Jaden walked through the heavy glass doors into a world of leather armchairs and eucalyptus-scented air. A staff member glanced at his pass, double-checked it, and then, with a customer service smile too tight to be real, said, "Welcome, Mr. Ellis." He thanked her politely and chose a seat in the farthest corner, where he could see everything without being seen too much himself. He opened his laptop and tapped the file. Legacy Air Acquisition, Final Asset Transfer. $120 million glowed at the top of the page. The live feed from his laptop's camera flickered on, recording quietly. Meanwhile, Brad told the story of the fake baller to anyone in the break room who'd listen, exaggerating every detail for laughs. Kenny stayed silent. Uneasy by evening, flight operations were scrambling. A memo went out. Prepare VIP protocol. Principal Ellis en route. Ownership effective within hours. The shift manager frowned at the name on the memo. He didn't recognize it by the time boarding began. Jaden was already near the gate. His suitcase, however, was not. Brad had delayed it on purpose. The final boarding call. Jaden approached the gate. A smiling attendant scanned his pass. It pinged VIP priority instantly. But 10 feet onto the jet bridge, another obstacle appeared. Miranda Sloan, flight attendant, sharp-eyed and sharper-tongued, blocked his way. "Excuse me," she said with professional ice. "Economy boarding is next." Jaden held out his pass silently, but Miranda's eyes flicked to it. Then to him. Back to it. Then to his hoodie, his sneakers, his skin. "First class?" she repeated like she was tasting sour milk. "First class," Jaden confirmed. Miranda hesitated. Glanced at a co-worker for backup. "Please wait here a moment," she said, stepping away to murmur into her radio. Passengers behind him began whispering. Staring. A man in a business suit shook his head. 5 minutes later, a senior crew member arrived and confirmed, "Yes, Mr. Ellis belonged in seat 1A." Miranda's smile was tight. "Apologies for the confusion." Jaden said nothing. He walked to his seat. 1A, settled in, and closed his eyes. Behind him, someone whispered, "Probably got a rich uncle." Someone else snorted, "Damn charity seats." They didn't know. Jaden's phone buzzed. Surveillance activated. All data uploading to cloud. Down below, Brad wasn't done. When Jaden's carry-on rolled into the manual load belt, Brad personally yanked it aside. He popped the lock. Inside were thick folders embossed with the seal of Carter Ellis Holdings, financial records, acquisition schedules, investment documents. Brad flipped through them, his mouth slack. Kenny leaned over and blanched. "Brad, this is real stuff. This ain't no fake." Brad grunted. "Figures. Kid's good at taking what ain't theirs." Loud enough for the room to hear. Jaden's suitcase sensor tripped. He got an alert instantly. Bag opened. Recording in progress. Still, he stayed calm. Brad, after rifling through confidential files, zipped the bag halfway, then intentionally dropped it edge first onto the steel belt. A heavy, gut-wrenching crunch that bent the frame. He laughed. "Oops." Another handler muttered, "You're gonna regret that." As the plane prepared for takeoff, Brad uploaded a smug video of himself wrecking the bag to a private group chat, captioned, "Taught this punk a lesson." It didn't stay private for long. An anonymous repost hit social media minutes later. Within half an hour, the video went viral. A baggage handler destroying a black teenager's luggage, laughing about it. Hashtags erupted. Hashtag legacy or disgrace. Hashtag justice for Jaden in first class. Jaden remained motionless, monitoring the storm from his tablet. Passengers whispered again. Some laughed nervously. A man filmed him stealthily from 2 rows back. Jaden made mental notes. Logged every face, every word. When turbulence shook the plane lightly, it barely touched him. The bigger storm was coming. Not in the sky. On the ground. And when it hit, it would change everything.